All right. Welcome and good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome. It is Marriage Monday, and it's a Marriage Monday in a whole new way because we're used to being over on Instagram, and we have made some executive decisions with the Godly Woman Network, and we have a series of podcasts coming out this month, actually, starting with tonight, Marriage Monday, with your hosts, Rebecca Johns and
Ryan Johns.
how you doing, babe?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. It's a little weird being over on this platform, and I don't know that I'm quite comfortable yet, but we're gonna just roll with it and grow.
And grin and smile the whole way through.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. We're getting on a little bit late because we were wrestling with technology, as I really do mean this has been a tricky little transition. Rocky's with us this evening. So say hello, Rocky. He's gonna hang out and handle some personal hygiene while we're here on our live. This is one of our two baby doggies that have made the move to Georgia with us, Rocky and Maui. We rescued while we were residents of Michigan. He's been still the whole time, by the way. Still.
He's
Like stoic
the
still.
consummate showman.
Like sitting right here at my feet still. And then I go live and yeah, I'm talking about you, bro. This is live. It's not Memorex.
Oh
So,
man.
good evening. Welcome to Marriage Mondays with Brian and Rebecca Johns. We decided to take this into podcast mode. We had been over on Instagram for the last few months, kind of testing this concept out with this conversation, seeing if it's something that we could do and do together. Because, I mean, that's legitimate. Not, husbands and wives can be husbands and wives, but they can't always hang out and do business together. So, we were just checking to see if it worked for us. And then we were seeing if there was a demand, if there was an audience that responded to this kind of material being out there. And we've gotten some pretty positive responses. There have been some of you who've reached out and said that the way that Brian and I dialogue about certain conversations are really changing the way you think about things for yourself and how you talk to your significant other. So that's exactly why we're doing this, huh, babes?
Absolutely.
So, what are we talking about tonight?
I believe we had talked about the responsibility of each couple um, after there has been an infidelity in restoring, what was the word that we used?
Mhm. I called it Life After Infidelity on the title of the live,
There you go.
um but I do think, specifically speaking, about the responsibility that each party has in the process of healing and recovery of the
Yes.
relationship is what we wanted to focus on. It's come up for me since people are going to be like, "Hey, wow, what happened between Brian and Rebecca?" What happened is a long, long time ago, but I'm working with several couples right now in my private coaching practice. And in those sessions, we're having some pretty strong conversations. And so I went to Brian recently and I said, listen, how would you advise a man who has strayed in his relationship and there's some broken trust? How would you, but he's doing the work. I'm not saying he's flawless. I'm saying he's doing the work. And and yet his wife, partner, in her wounds, you could say, in her upset, is really not letting him off the hook for his offenses. And I don't mean that she's requiring him to make amends. That might be fair and just, and that's, as you said, every couple's got to kind of decide for themselves. But this is more of like a hard, scorned heart making him pay. And so, and the conversation I had with one couple in particular was that there was no chance that there was going to be healing because even if he does everything correctly, she's got another hoop of fire. Case in point, we have an agreement now that we're working things out and we have an agreement. I can ask for his phone whenever I want, and he is to, without question, hand it to me. So then she gets the phone. She looks through it. There aren't any booty call apps. There aren't any secret chats. There aren't any messengers and messages and pictures and websites and blah, blah, blah. The whole scour, right? And we know it all too well. Then it isn't okay. Thank you. I know that might be something that's weird to have to keep doing, but like there are some times that that's the only thing that makes me like get it. So thank you. And handing it back. Instead, it's so what, do you got a burner phone? So you're just better at hiding it now, right? So now you just meet them somewhere. So you probably have like a place you just go now. You don't even have to make messages now. You probably just have a like it's not enough. It's not enough. And I remember that place in myself, Bry. I
Yeah.
remember it.
Yeah.
I remember the trap of my own nervous system. And the thing that in my work I stress with people is that there may be an insult or an injury in this existing relationship, but I promise you, whatever the wound is that then postulates and bleeds has been there long before whatever's happening right now.
Without a doubt.
But you that doesn't help knowing that now you've got more things, if anything, to like. Okay, this happened with my husband, but it's bringing up something that happened in my childhood and when I was a teenager or in my first marriage or whatever. And so now I've got like all of it that I'm holding. But you're who I'm married to,
Right.
so at you. And listen, women who've been through, like what my side of the coin has been in our relationship, they deserve some room to like not be happy.
Yes.
Like the need, I think, and I'm talking a lot, but I promise I'm gonna hand over the microphone to you in a minute.
All good.
But I am finding that there is a need sometimes for the partner to need to make the other person feel the pain they felt.
Or at least attempt to.
Or yeah, because
Yeah.
it's not yeah,
Right.
no. Depriving you of sex, being mad at you, cold shouldering you, judging you, being hypercritical, not trusting you, withholding affection. I don't even know if I can look at you the same, all that stuff. None of that. None of that feels the same.
Right.
And so then it's like subscribing to a life of misery and suffering for one's self.
Right.
And they're taking the partner who happened to make a mistake. I'm going to make the assumption that a lot of our partners are just human. They're not malicious sociopaths. And there are malicious sociopaths. And that'll probably be another episode. Like, we're not going to, I don't want to confuse those things. There's just simply hurt people, immature people hurt people, underdeveloped people hurt people,
Yeah.
unwise, right? Like you might know some things, but you're not really wise, right? Those are the people that hurt people. And so, my question to Brian that spawned all of this and like really has made us churn up some stuff is how does a partner doing the right thing and going through the paces, but obviously a flawed human being, assure his mate, like, babe, I'm doing the work. You can trust me
Right.
without trying to sell himself to her when he's already created a violation. Like, how do you on that side of the fence manage all that? How do you govern yourself? How do you then interact and talk? And what can you share from being a man who's in the know that way?
Well, for one, you definitely have to give your partner space. And that's hard from the standpoint of you're going to have to eat a little crow for a minute and not go as far as give them whatever rope they're asking for, but
Hmm.
in some cases, give them a good portion of it. Like you were the one that created this problem to begin with, and you're the one ultimately that holds the key to getting the relationship out of that space.
Okay, hold on.
Yep.
You just made a bunch of women happy right now because they're like, yes, you do. You're the one who did this. And there's some truth. Like, if I'm the one that hit the ball and the ball went and broke the window, I am the one. But if you were pitching it to me, right? Like we were all playing baseball.
Yes. Well, and I mean
Because
that's
there's some guys that are listening right now, like, hold up, bro. Like, don't. What are you doing? Like, I've paid my dues. I said I'm sorry.
well, and like I said, that may take a minute. Like, and it goes back to what you were just saying as far as, the whole who was pitching the ball to me. There might have been extenuating circumstances in the relationship that drove that person to do those things, and that person's immature thinking decided that it was reasonable for them to go have an affair. And obviously that wasn't reasonable, given the circumstances that they're in now. But it certainly seemed palatable at the time. And
Yeah,
so,
we can justify some stuff. That's for sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
That's for sure. I'm
Um,
just sharing us over onto Facebook right now because, like I said, I'm still learning kind of how to do this.
no problem.
And so, pardon me as I share, post, boom. Yes, did it work? I think so. Okay, so there you are, a guy who has strayed,
Yep.
but you say, I'm about to ask you a bunch of questions on behalf of women now,
Okay.
but you say you love the person you're with.
Mhm.
How can you say you love someone and cheat on them?
Hmm.
And what a sign of healing that I can ask you that question with a smile.
Amen to that.
What a moment of hallelujah. I'm like looking at my own face as we're having this conversation, and I'm like, well, that's not Rebecca of yesteryear, is it?
Well, and that goes to what's going to get you through this as well. It's one of those things that it's going to take some time, and you really have to give your partner time to express out all of those feelings. I'm sure that there are even times to this day that something will happen that will spark something in your mind that, what does that mean? What does this mean? Does that mean that X? Does that mean that Y? And both parties have to have, hopefully, the maturity to come through that portion of the relationship, but both grow in it as well. Like it's going to take a different thinking on both of their parts to get them through something, especially that deep and that intimate, that caused this divide.
Yeah, can I touch on something with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the first choices that must be made in a relationship is this the person you're willing to be a ride or die with?
Totally.
Bob Marley said something, some version of this quote that everyone is going to let you down in life,
Yep.
and you're going to have to decide which people are worth keeping around anyway.
Totally.
And Brian and I did separate in 2019 until early 22. And but I want to talk about the reconciliation. Like when the decision was made, we're making this work, then the back door got closed And it's not like we've never talked about the type of behavior that could put us at risk for divorce again. We've demonstrated it, not like the infidelity part, but like we've still had some of our vulnerabilities show up since we reconciled. Like, oh wow, wow, we're that's still there. Okay, all right, okay, okay, okay. But now it's like, we have to address this. This can't be unaddressed because we really are in this permanently together.
Yes.
So I'm going to be patient because we really are in this permanently together. But you really have to take this seriously and fix it because we really are in this permanently together.
Right.
Don't you think that's like one of the fundamental choices? Like decision, like you guys have to like be like, listen, we really are going to do this forever. So let's not be coy. Anything
Yes.
that comes up, we got to deal with it. Like this is our only car. So if it's making a sound, we got to deal with it. If there's a leak, we got to deal with it. Like to the
Without a
best of our
doubt.
ability, right? At least to the best of our ability.
Yep. No, and I think that's something like I was saying, going back to, you know, you can't treat the relationship anywhere like what you did before. All
Right.
those things that would have been swept under the rug or excused as, okay, this is him being a man, her being a woman, letting that go. Those things have to be brought to the table, have to be answered. It's going to be uncomfortable ultimately for both parties.
And listen, I really think that that's a major thing if you're the person who did the cheating, you probably are someone that doesn't feel like you have a voice in your relationship.
Oh, without a doubt, it takes a
And
moment to get
so,
that back. Yeah.
but what I'm saying though, I don't think you ever have it. Because if you're someone who's willing to cheat instead of go, let me tell you something, this thing between us, if it's not fixed, I'm done. If you don't have the capacity to say that and your option is to cheat, you didn't have a voice in yourself before you even came into the relationship.
Very
These are
true.
fundamental personal issues. This is how personal issues affect relationships.
Yep.
And Brian and I have talked about this on when we were streaming live on Instagram. He came from a home environment that was very suppressive and oppressive, and communication didn't happen, right? Mom and dad didn't fight in front of people. That means they didn't have to make up in front of people. So there was no breakdowns. So there was no breakthroughs that way.
Yep.
It all happened behind closed doors. That's not how it worked for my house. For my house, it was whether it was peace, love, or hair grease, it happened right in front of everybody. And I was raised to speak up. So I had a voice, but I had a disturbed nervous system.
Hmm.
So it didn't matter that I could talk because what I was saying wasn't going to heal us anyway. And so why I say this though is because for the person who cheated, you likely are someone who in life and definitely wherever you came from that brought you into this relationship, you feel you can't say anything to make it, something be different. So you're just going to go out here and entertain yourself a different way, right? That means when you reconcile, you're going to have to be the one that isn't afraid to speak up.
Without a doubt.
So where has your voice changed since we've reconciled?
Hmm. Letting go of fear, letting go of that fear of, I'm going to say this and it's going to be over. This is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, or I'm going to say this and she's going to think X of me now. It really has come from taking on a different mindset, if you will, with the relationship and with what's even possible. Like you have to, if you, and I think that goes back to, if you will, the subconsciousness of healing the relationship. You know, the person who cheated has to have a different mindset about the relationship as well. And when that starts to come across, that can create hope, that can create at least the vision in the partner that things can be different and that things are going to be different.
How did you do that? Like, can you
Like I
give an
said,
example?
by letting go of the fear and being willing to say those things, being willing to
But to
say
say what things?
the things that I thought were going to end our relationship. Like, I acted this way because of X. I went stepped out on our relationship because I felt your actions this way pushed me in that direction. It's hard to being the person that cheated if the cheating came from a hard heart, it came from cold shouldering. Those are hard things to say back at your partner when you're the one.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Like if I'm the one who cheated, I'm gonna look at you and be like, yeah, but this is where you fail in the relationship with me.
Right.
It's like it's like comparing sins. You know what I mean? Like,
And if you don't say those things, you're setting yourself up for just another failure.
right. And and I'm gonna talk tonight like we haven't talked about this before because really some of our talks that we did on Instagram didn't even get stored properly there. So some of this just isn't anywhere. People don't know we've had these conversations publicly. But in the couple of years that Brian and I were separated, it was revealed very clearly to me that my hard-heartedness in our relationship did as much damage as the infidelity that he practiced. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that piece of information. That wasn't information that, I'm going to say it in my language. When the spirit showed it to me, I was like offended. I was like clutching my pearls and gasping, like, how dare you imply that my hard heartedness could do equal damage to our relationship as him cheating on me? I was loyal. And it was like this feeling came over me as though the spirit went, yeah, can't imagine why anyone would want to come home to that. It was kind of like this moment of reflecting of like, not just that I was angry. I think angry, people get angry. I was bitter.
Mm.
I was bitter. And I'm looking up infidelity in the dictionary because I think that you're going to be surprised when I say something, y'all. Infidelity definition 1A: the act or fact of having a romantic or sexual relationship with someone other than one's spouse or partner. So, the act or fact of having a romantic or sexual relationship with someone other than one's spouse or partner. That's definition 1A. You want to hear definition 1B, Bry?
Absolutely.
Unfaithfulness to a moral obligation.
Mm.
Unfaithfulness to a moral obligation is considered a synonym to disloyalty. Disloyalty, like infidelity.
Yes.
So, how does then a hard heart do damage? Well, um, let me just say that when a woman, I think the quote goes, hath been scorned, it's worse than the fury of hell. I think Shakespeare told us, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Because a woman does not have to hit you, a woman doesn't even have to scream at you. A woman, the terrain of woman is emotion, the terrain of man is body, right? That's the yin and the yang.
Yep.
The terrain of woman is emotionality. So if I abandon my vow to be who I said I would be, which is loving, forgiving, integrous partner, right? I made vows on my wedding day. Vows, by the way, are not promises. Promises are made between people. Vows are a sacred bond.
Mhm.
I made a vow to the creator about how I would operate in my relationship with my partner. I violated my moral obligation. Because the truth is, had I fulfilled my moral obligation, I would have done it really early on. And I would have said, listen, these are some red flags that are showing up. I love you and I want this relationship to work, but these are things that you must address because if you fail to address them, it will sabotage our relationship. And then why would I be involved with someone that does that? And then I would have stepped back and given him room to go address whatever it was he needed to address. I wouldn't have been like, I'm divorcing you. I would have been like, listen, you obviously have some things to face. Why don't I take the kids and go crash at my mom and dad's for a couple weeks? They'll enjoy the company. You pray and think about what direction we need to take in our marriage and family. Right. If you need out of this marriage, then I guess that's what we'll do. If you don't want out and this is somehow something that is we got to work out, I need to hear that from you too, because then we got work to do and accountability to have.
Right.
But I need some space. Like this hit me too. And I think we should just kind of like make a bridge to this next space between us. If I, not him, if I were faithful to my moral obligation, because that's consistent with the value that I have about what kind of person I'm committed to being in the world. Instead, I got in my car, drove around screaming and crying, calling my friend, banging on my steering wheel, coming back, screaming at him. Like it wasn't good. It didn't help anything. It was just the reaction of an already pre-existing nervous system that was packed with unresolved trauma and betrayal and a narrative of wounds that was unshakable. I didn't understand myself. I wasn't I wasn't conscious of my own person, let alone to understand what was driving my partner person. And why I say that is because some people think that if I say I could would have been faithful to my moral obligation, it's like, well, then you're being a doormat. No, keying his car and slashing his tires, ladies, doesn't make you something so powerful. It makes you something toxic and reactive, something survival paradigm oriented. It just demonstrates that you're an animal who knows how to bite and scratch,
Mm.
which is what he just demonstrated when he stepped out of the marriage, is that he didn't know how to handle the situation other than with his man parts. That's why I'm saying this message from spirit was so impactful to me, was because I didn't do what he did. I didn't go and do the same doing, but I beed the same being. We both beed the same being, which was abandoning the post to our partner in our relationship. We both became resigned and cynical. We both failed to create a bridge of communication, trust, so that faithfulness could foster. And the way I dealt with it was emotionally hardening. And how he dealt with it was, you know,
Yep.
and so the being was what had to change. We had to become people. Because listen, it's not about, really, at the end of the day, it's not about sex with somebody else. I know that adds a whole other string of things because
Sure.
you got people that know your family, you've got people calling your house, you got people, there can be all kinds of things that come with your partner got entangled with other human beings. But some people get driven to the same breaking point and they go day drink, they go gamble, they go hang out with their buddies and shoot pool and go to football games and they just have nothing to do with their household.
Right.
So there's a lot of ways. The fact that it was a sexual acting out, that's his business. He should go deal with why that is going on in him. but that he was driven to a point to need some break from this break in relationship. That's our business.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and I'm just going to say this on behalf of men because I do work with men one on one and in the group with dynamic with their wives or partners. Um, you know, there's so much shame associated with having handled your sex wrong. Married, single, solo, with someone, like it doesn't matter. When you know on the inner compass of yourself that you didn't handle your sex right, there's a lot of shame and guilt that goes with that.
Mhm.
And so if you're wanting a man to heal and be a better partner, then as a woman, we can't scold and reprimand and insult
Right.
and threaten because you might get some modified behavior on the surface, but you're not going to get a heart change.
And temporarily at best.
Right, right. It will not be something that is true, so it will not be something that is sustainable.
Right.
And that's why Brian and I had so many goes at it because we would make superficial adjustments. And I don't know that either of us knew the depth to which things lived in each of us individually and then together as a couple that needed to be faced.
Right.
Y'all probably relate to how much in life you just are trying to get by, right? Just work, kids, bills, dinner, laundry, dishes, one more thing, elderly parents, whatever. Oh my God, did you get sick? Oh my God, did you have an accident? There's so much
Yeah.
that sometimes people are just like, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it.
Right.
And they want to just kind of tuck it away. And then, so are we going to your parents this weekend? And then we're very robotic. It's all transactional. There's no heart involved because you're guarding it. What you really think, what you really feel is hidden and tucked away.
Mhm.
So, what do you think we're doing currently that is working that keeps communication and trust intact?
Communicating differently, for one, like both having the space to say whatever is on our heart. Um,
True.
and I mean, whatever. We don't hold back with each other anymore like we used to at one point in time. If there's a question mark on either side of the tracks, it gets addressed. However uncomfortable that conversation may be. And that is extremely valuable. And that takes a lot of growing and maturing, if you will, on both sides. So I definitely think that's one part of it. Um, Hearing each other from a healed space is another big part. Like, even when I knew my partner wasn't healed to the point that I wanted her to be, hearing her from the space of that healed person is one of the things that helps them to get to that space. And I think that's key coming from both angles. Like, there's nothing
I
more that a man needs than to heal, than to hear that he is a good person, and not necessarily in word, but in how you address your partner is going to say it far more than you saying it in general.
I actually think that if you're a woman who has to do that for your man, like you have to keep affirming him and being like that. I was just telling this to a young couple I'm working with right now. There's a vibe that some men have, like, my woman's supposed to be my peace. No, your mother's supposed to be your peace.
Right.
Your woman's supposed to be your partner. And if you had a mother who failed to be a space of peace for you, gentlemen, then you're looking for your woman to hold that space,
Yep.
which, as Brian's saying, as a partner to affirm your partner, that's great. My husband needs to be affirmed by me. I need to be affirmed by him. That's what partnership does. Like a football team, like you've got this number 62, do it. I believe in you. Like, let's go get this win. But there's also truth telling inside of that partnership. Hey, you keep throwing the ball like 10 feet away from my head. Like, I'm over here. You've got to be able to talk to each other, but you've got to be able to talk to each other like, we want to win this, right?
Yes.
So then don't do that, please. Or how about in the future, if this is going on, we do this?
Yep.
That's not bad talk. Talking straight to another person is not bad.
No, it's
It's
necessary.
honorable.
Yep.
Now, you can be dishonorable about it,
Hmm.
but what Brian's talking about is really the room as teammates to talk to each other. I saw this thing the other day. I'm sure there's a couple versions of it, but it's this video of this husband and wife, and they're cooking in the kitchen, and he looks over at her, and on the screen it says, I've realized that 9 times out of 10, my wife is right, but also 9 times out of 10, I usually don't like her tone.
Damn.
So, sometimes people who are accurate, whether husband, wife, doesn't matter, parent, child, doesn't matter, when you're accurate, it's like it's really the best time to not be like self-righteous. If you're accurate, just stand on your accuracy.
Yep.
A few months ago, Brian and I, there was something that happened, and I don't even remember all the details at this point, but I spoke to Brian in such a way and in front of our children, where later in the day we were on a drive and he was like, kind of still sitting with some stuff from earlier. Like, you could have made your point and not like that. And if it was going to be like that, definitely not in front of the boys. Because, there's room for us to, as a grown ups, if there's room between us, but there's a space in front of our kids that we want to maintain, not to fake an image, but again, being honorable. And so I did explain myself and where I was at in kind of a breaking point and apologize to Brian. But I also came home and in front of the boys apologized to Brian and let the boys know that why I was doing that was because I wanted them to understand that it was never okay to be disrespectful to their partner or their dad. But I wanted them to see as partners
Yeah.
that's not the best approach.
Yep.
And there's a way to come back from it same day. This doesn't have to take hours, days, weeks, months, years of our
Yep.
life. We don't need to be in therapy for 27 sessions. Someone could just say, I apologize. In the future, I won't handle myself like that.
Yes.
But also, Brian gives me room when I do see things. Recently he addressed, can I talk about what?
Absolutely.
Okay. Recently he addressed Noah. I was listening to them on a FaceTime call that they were having separately. And when they hung up, I FaceTime Brian. Noah was away from me. I FaceTime Brian. And I was just like, I don't think that's the way you want to handle that. Like, I know why you want to handle it like that. Like, I get it. But I don't think that that when you address him like that, it makes him withdraw. And I know that's not what you're wanting to have happen. But I also know where you got it from. Like I saw, listen. I love my father-in-law. Like mustard loves ketchup. Okay, but I know my father-in-law's ways. I know some of his ways that he was as a dad. And I saw it. I saw it in Brian as the father to the son, and I was like, you. And then what happened after that?
Well, I went back and addressed him differently.
What did can do you mind sharing just like how do you go and address that as a because some parents don't know how to go and adjust themselves to a child. It's like, what do you want me to do? Apologize, my son. So what do you do?
It's as simple as, hey, when I was talking to you about that thing earlier, I didn't handle it the way ultimately I think I should. Ultimately, I don't think you would have gotten the message that I wanted you to get coming across that way. What I really meant and what I wanted you to get was X. And this, goes back to what I was saying earlier as far as you really have to hear your partner from a different space. Like if I would have heard that coming from Rebecca as criticism, as, a
It's
cut,
never enough. It's never good enough.
right, then I would have missed an opportunity to actually make a difference with my son. And because I hear her as an ally, I can go, okay, how do I really want to come across to my son? And, that's really the best, as far as how do you go back and make it different is, well, how I made it different with Noah was going, hey, this is what I wanted you to see in that. This is what I wanted you to get out of that. And just being as blunt, if you can tell or not, we're pretty blunt in our household. And that really is the only way to be. Life is difficult. Life is going to be hard. It's going to throw you some curveballs. But if you're all on the same team, you really can get through it together, no matter what it is.
By the way, what Brian's describing is faithfulness to a moral obligation. What he's saying is, how I handled you, son, didn't measure up to the moral obligation I feel I have as a dad.
Right.
And that is what is there in fidelity, right? Infidelity is the unfaithfulness to a moral obligation. We're not just talking about stepping out of relationships when it comes to sex and romance. We're talking about stepping out of relationship to what a moral obligation is when you're in a particular relationship.
Right.
I had someone not too long ago leave my team, and that's fine. Things happen. If my company's not right for you, I want you to. But the way she handled it had zero honor for her or for me, but that's an expression of her.
Right.
Just like what got handed from Brian to Noah was an expression of Brian, that was an expression of Noah. Just like me scorning Brian for infidelity isn't an expression of Brian. Some of you might be like, yeah, but he did it. Well, yeah, but how I responded to it is up to me. People can actually do whatever they do, and you can still be honorable. You can still be majestic,
Without a doubt.
but we get into our reaction, our nervous system's autonomous reaction, autonomic reactions where there's no thought, it's just reaction. It's a trigger. That's why we call them triggers because you pull a trigger and oh my gosh, I just knocked my glasses everywhere. That's literally because I'm blind in this eye and I have no peripheral vision. I don't know when my hand is next to my own face. If y'all knew how many times that happened in a day, you'd probably really feel bad for me and probably donate to a glasses fund because I have to get new glasses.
On the
Just
regular.
kidding. Just kidding. These are going to be okay. But that is how it happens. One thing hits another and then it's off. That's a trigger. That's a reaction. So to be able to say, hold on a minute, I know I'm very aware that something is heightened in me.
Right.
So let me take a moment. And Brian said we're pretty blunt around here. So even if we're not sure how to say it, it comes across like this. listen, I'm not sure how to address something with you, but I need to talk to you.
Right.
Sometimes that's how things get addressed around here, is by leading with, I'm not quite sure the right way to address something, but I know there's something I have to address and I can't be silent about it anymore. And I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm not trying to do a recurrence of what, 2014 looked like. I
Mm-mm.
just, I need to address something. Sometimes that's what it looks like because I'm sensitive about what I want to say. I'm sensitive that my heightened emotional state might mess it up for me. I'm sensitive to that I've done this before and I have a past and he's got a past with me. So sometimes you just gotta own it.
Right.
And the more you build the practice, the more you have the muscle of being authentic. That's just transparent and authentic. Then over time, you actually become someone who's regulating your own nervous system.
Mm.
And then communication, expression, whether it's romance or business or child raising or something spiritual, you have room to be who you really are.
Yes.
And listen, if in the process what you come to is this relationship isn't right, Brian and I got back together on the principle not that we would be together forever and ever and ever, although marriage is a commitment for the permanent relationship. So we know we're in a committed, permanent, exclusive relationship. We know that part. But part of the reconciliation was we're going to do right by this. And if it ever comes to light that we're not supposed to be together, we're just going to be honorable about letting each other go. There will be no dishonor. There'll be no dishonor if we keep the relationship intact. There will be no dishonor if we don't. And a lot of people fail to fulfill their own moral obligation and they turn against people who, if that's your kid's parent, don't turn on them. You might not be able to be married to them, but
Yep.
you don't have to be harmful to them, right? These are opportunities, and no matter what your state of your relationship is, you do not have to operate in a dishonorable way, nor do you have to tolerate the dishonorable behavior of another party.
Without a doubt.
And you don't have to be dishonorable to hold the space for it. You can be like, I see, okay. So I'm seeing where you're at. that's not where I'm at. And this relationship isn't going to work. Like it can be that simple. For those of y'all who are dating, let it be that simple.
Please.
Please. You do not owe people. You do not owe people. And I think that's part of what has been important for to understand. Excuse me. Because I've got some like codependent ways that I grew up with that I just kind of like made my own and then put some booster engines on them. But my my loyalty can be performed out of toxicity.
Mm. Truth.
I mean, loyalty sounds great. Like, who doesn't want someone to stick with you through thick and thin?
Yes.
But if I'm someone who doesn't know how to have a healthy boundary, if I'm someone who doesn't know how to say, Brian, I know I married you and you've got ex-wife and kids and whatever, but there are certain things that are going on in our relationship that I don't feel like I'm the one that should be handling. That's just a healthy boundary. That's not a problem.
Right.
But I wasn't someone going through our early stages of our relationship. I didn't have that kind of healthiness to me. So I took on things out of loyalty
Mm.
and then grew resentful, which, by the way, is an unfaithfulness to a moral obligation because morally, I am very clear that marrying someone and living with them and making babies with them and then resenting them 24/7 is probably not the way to go.
It will definitely backfire.
Totally. Okay. I don't know that there's anything else for me to talk about tonight. Anything else you want to talk about tonight?
No, I mean, other than blatant honesty with one another, that would be my takeaway for tonight. And what I would want to leave people with is, unless you can be blatantly honest with your partner, unless you can tolerate your partner being blatantly honest with you, you probably shouldn't be together.
Well, I would go so far as to say you probably aren't ready for a relationship.
Yep.
It's not just be together with that person. It's if you're not someone who's willing to lay it all out and let someone else lay it all out. And when you lay it all out, by the way, it ain't all pretty.
Hmm.
Laying it all out ain't pretty. So unless you're willing to lay it all out and let someone else lay it all out, and then everybody just stand and kind of be there with it, like it's kind of like being naked, like, well, so that's the body you got under those clothes. All right. Right. Like it's revealing yourself. If you're not willing to do that fully, you probably aren't ready for the kind of relationship that marriage is.
True.
Marriage.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really, I think, I know I had no idea. I actually was talking to our sons about this recently. People are really in this headspace like, oh, yeah, we live together, so it's just a piece of paper.
Mhm.
No, it's not. Go ask anybody who's ever said that after they get married how much it's more than just a piece of paper.
It changes things exponentially.
It changes things. So if you're already married and need some support getting some things reconciled, please reach out. Visit thegodlywomannetwork.com, get into some private sessions or even sacred partnership sessions where I work with couples. And sometimes for you gentlemen, I introduce you to Brian. He's actually building a support group called Forged by Grace that will be kicking off later this year. But he is an ordained minister and shaman and husband three times, actually, and dad of six and grandpa of two. So he knows a little bit about a little bit. And so sometimes Brian is a really good plug-in support for the gentleman in the community. But whatever it is that you need, go check it out, godlywomannetwork.com. Let us know how we can support you. We appreciate you watching this. I know there have been some people here watching it on the live. I don't know who exactly was here, but I'm sure that it'll show up in the chat when we log off. And this will be taken from YouTube and put on the Godly Woman Network on Facebook and in the Activating Your Great I Am group there. Feel free to check us out. Remember to follow the Godly Woman Network over on Instagram and TikTok as well. Any final words from you to the world, Brian Johns?
No, just thank you for being here, and thank you for enjoying this ride with me, Mrs. Johns.
Thanks for growing up with me, Brian. I really appreciate it.
My honor and privilege.
All right, y'all. Bless you. Bless your marriage. Bless your family and your lineage. And we're here to walk with you through it. We'll see you next week for Marriage Mondays with Brian and Rebecca Johns. Take care.